That song playing in your favorite brewery might sound like background music, but for the brewery, it could come with a bill. And what I think is the most underrated piece that customers probably don't know is live music doesn't actually automatically fix it either. This is about taproom playlists, live bands, DJs, karaoke, the songwriters getting paid, breweries trying to stay compliant, and why the vibe customers love is not as simple as hitting play. Because music is part of what makes breweries feel alive, but behind that one favorite song you got, that cover band that's playing on like a Wednesday, the trivia night playlist, like the music bingo, there may be ASCAP, BMI, SESAC, GMR, and a licensing system that even the Brewers Association says is getting way more complicated. So the question here is not going to be, does music matter? Of course it matters. We all love music. But the real question is, can small breweries afford the very thing that basically keeps their tap rooms feel alive? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tapped In here at BrewBodz Barbells, where we lift pints and weights. And today we are talking about something that sounds boring on the surface, but just I promise you, stay here for the long haul. This is going to get interesting really fast. Music licensing in breweries. It's literally overlooked constantly, in my opinion. Now, don't leave yet, all right? I know this sounds like someone basically spilling paperwork in your pint glass, but this is not about the paperwork. This is about the brewery vibe, the room, the playlist, the local musician in the corner, the cover band on a Friday night, that reggae song that makes the whole tap room feel like a beach day. One of my favorites. And, the live music event that gets people off the couch and into a local business, right? That stuff matters. And because when people walk into a brewery, they're not only judging the beer, they're feeling the room. Is it warm? Is it dead? Is it awkward? Is it like alive? Is the place kind of where you want to stay at for a long time? Or is it like a place that you grab a beer and sneak out like you owe the bar stool money? Music is part of that. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's the whole reason people even showed up in the first place. And that's why this story right here matters to customers, breweries, musicians, and the beer industry, because customers hear music and think this is just the vibe, right? Breweries hear the music and think this is part of our hospitality. But musicians hear music and think this is my work that I've spent hours, days, months, years honing in on and practicing. And the licensing world hears music and says somebody needs permission for that. That is where this right here, today's discussion, gets very complicated. When a when a brewery plays music where customers can hear it, that's considered a public performance. Okay, I've dove into this subject pretty heavy for this video, and it does include recorded music over speakers, live bands, DJs, karaoke, music during those like music bingos, TV music, streaming, and even cover songs. That's one that I'm going to harp on this one. And no, a personal Spotify account does not actually automatically turn into a commercial brewery license like the ones that you listen to on your phones. You like it doesn't count all because you place it next to a tap handle or you put the speaker on and you're hooked into the brewery. That's not technically how it works. So a brewery cannot just say, well, I pay for Spotify, me as the owner or brewer, and so we're good. That subscription is usually for personal listening, okay? A business playing music for customers is a completely different world. And for most customers, maybe even watching this video, this is a huge surprise to you. I know it was to me some time ago when I first got into this. Because nobody walks into a brewery and thinks, I wonder if this tap room has the proper public performance rights for this playlist. No, if you are, that's weird. But you walk in, you hear a good song that you like, order a beer and a vibe. That's normal, right? But behind the scenes, breweries may need licenses and the credentials from organizations called pros. Okay, a pro is a performance rights organization. Their job is basically to collect money when songs are publicly performed and send royalties back to the musicians, the publishers, the songwriters. That part matters because musicians and songwriters deserve to get paid. Yes. If their music helps the atmosphere, keep people in the business, that's a fair argument that the creator should share in that value. I don't want this video though to turn into poor breweries, forget the artist, right? That's not the take I'm gonna take on this one. So, my opinion, but my take is musicians deserve to get paid. I know a bunch of artists that locally play with their own music. And so like that's why for this one I definitely want to hone in on because breweries deserve clarity. Customers deserve rooms that feel alive. And right now, the balance can get super messy. Now, here's my first big twist. Even live music does not automatically solve the problem. That's the part that made me personally stop and say, wait, what? Like, a brewery might think, cool, instead of playing a playlist, we'll just book a local musician. They pay the artist, they promote the show, they bring people together. The musician then has a tip jar, maybe a QR code, they sell some merch, like some stickers or something. Everybody wins, right? Sometimes, yes, but not automatically. Because if the musician plays covers, the brewery may need licensing for those songs. And when you play their originals, like let's say that musician made their own music and they play their originals, if those originals are represented by a pro, they can still matter. So the venue cannot always just say the band played it, not us. That's not always enough. And this is where a lot of brewery owners can kind of get caught off guard. They're not trying to cheat anyone. I know that because I've talked to them all. And they're just trying to host a Friday night trivia night event. But now they're dealing with a licensing system that has multiple organizations that I'm about to cover here in a second, multiple catalogs, different rules, different bills, and different types of music use. So let's meet the names behind those speakers. So there's three big ones that I learned about. Most people here kind of like their favorite music is kind of sitting on these three. They're called ASCAP, ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC. Then there is GMR, which matters more than people may realize. So ASCAP stands for American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. BMI stands for Broadcast Music Incorporated. SESAC originally stood for Society of European Stage Authors and Composers. GMR stands for Global Music Rights. Now, I know it's a lot of abbreviations and alphabet soup. I deal with that on a daily basis. I'm not going to do that here. So here's the simple version. These groups represent different songwriters, composers, publishers, and catalogs. So if a brewery they may be paying for a catalog or a license, but it's still not covered for everything. One tap handle does not pour the whole bar. We all know that. ASCAP has one catalog, BMI has one, SESAC has another, and GMR is another. And songs can get even more complicated when multiple writers and publishers are involved. So, check this out. One song can have several people attached to it. Those people may not be all represented by the same organization. So now our brewery is not just playing a playlist. They might be accidentally building a spreadsheet with a sound system attached. And let me tell you, this is insane to think about from a customer standpoint because let me give you a real world scenario around my go-to songs. So I personally I'm a big fan of Stick Figure and The Movement. So it's like that reggae rock lane. That music fits a brewery extremely well. It's super chill. It's positive. It feels like, sunshine's getting poured in your glass. Like if I walk into a brewery and Stick Figure's playing, just know my family already knows we're sitting here a lot longer than planned. The songs themselves change the room. And so, but here's the part that I never thought of as a customer. So those songs may not all live under the same licensing roof. Stick Figure and Scott Woodruff are listed with Global Music Rights, GMR. So if I'm sitting in a brewery and Stick Figure comes on, the vibe feels right for me, but behind the bar, the song may point to GMR. Now, then maybe the movement song that I like needs to be checked somewhere else. So maybe the next song on the playlist is ASCAP. Then the cover band that's playing later that night is represented by BMI. Then someone sings an Adele song that everyone likes during karaoke, or the Taylor Swift songs that's blowing up. And so now SESAC might be in the conversation now. And suddenly the brewery owner is not just trying to keep the room fun, they're trying to figure out which musical bucket each song falls in. This is where the story gets super wild, and we're about to take this up a notch because one, licensing may not sound that crazy, but ASCAP has said that the license for bars and restaurants can average about less than $2 per day for just their songs, right? BMI says its licensing can start around a little more than $1 per day and then change based on like the amount of occupancy at your location, live music being played, recorded music, DJs, karaoke, and how often the song or the music is even used. So on paper, somebody might say, come on, breweries, just pay the fee. And I get that from a customer standpoint. Artists should get paid, but the brewery side is not always a one clean fee, and it can truly just stack up. Between those four that I just discussed, like those pros, commercial music service, live music fees, sound equipment, even marketing, staffing, maybe a food truck organization that the breweries have to manage, maybe a cover charge being implemented, maybe tips, maybe a slow night where the band played great, but the brewery still barely made the numbers work. And so one license may not like hit the same, right? So one license might feel like a pint, but the full stack can start looking like a flight. And for the big venue stuff, maybe that's just not a part of the budget. But for like a small brewery trying to survive in a tough craft beer market already that we cover here, like every extra invoice matters. And especially when the rules are not always very well understood. And this is not just hypothetical, okay? There have been real businesses that I've found that, like, including breweries and brew houses, named in music licensing lawsuits. So I'm gonna probably mess up this name. Willowby Willoughby Brewing Company out of Ohio was named in an ASCAP lawsuit years ago. And local reporting at the time said an ASCAP representative estimated that there was about a 150-person capacity venue playing music on weekends, and that they would pay about $750 per year in fees. So the number is important. It shows both sides. $750 a year might not sound insane, because for some reason everyone thinks breweries are super profitable. But again, that is one example tied to one organization. Now, let's add the rest of the stack. All right. Most recently, ASCAP announced legal action against multiple establishments, including Five Dimes Brewery in New Jersey and 113 Brewhouse in North Carolina. And this is where the numbers get kind of scary, because if businesses ignore licensing and it becomes a copyright lawsuit, statutory damages under federal law might be higher than the license they would have paid for anyways. So this is the part breweries can't really just shrug off. It is not only can we afford the license, it also is can we afford the risk of not understanding this right now? And that's the tension, because like what I did was I jumped into, I'm gonna jump over real quick. So I'm gonna show y'all. So this right here is the basically the industry read that I caught my eye. Music licensing is getting more complicated, and here's where things stand. Right, so it's a great read over on the brewersassociation.org. This was back in March 24th by Sarah, the vice president of memberships, and so she goes over everything, why the music licensing is getting federal attention, about the pros she talks about. Great. And so as you can see, I pulled up a bunch of the different ones that I just got done talking about. ASCAP. This was a great ploy, music licensing guidance for breweries, sitting on the Brewers Association website. If anybody needs this, I save this. So if you need it, let me know. But the SESAC, GMR, the global rights, these are my guys right here. Big fan of stick figure, if anyone that knows me. So yeah, man, there's a lot going on here. And so that's why I definitely wanted to sit and talk about this today, because like I don't want silent breweries. Who does, right? Nobody wants to walk into a tap room that sounds like a dentist's office after closing. Music matters, especially in this kind of environment. Live music especially matters. Live music gives breweries a pulse. It gives people a reason to show up. It gives local artists a stage that they can use to create their art. It creates social media content easy. It creates a night people will remember. They're gonna post in their stories. They're gonna post on their reels, their photos, and everything of their night, which might even bring more people into the brewery. So it turns a tap room into like a beer counter, into like a community room, right? So it's not all just about the beer. And this ties directly into what I talked about in one of my last episodes. Beer was never about the beer because the beer gets people in the door, but the room is what brings people back. And music is a part of that room. So think about it. A brewery can have great beer, but if the room feels dead, people will not stay. Uh, and it might like, but what if you add the right musician, the right playlist, the right event, the right energy, and suddenly that brewery feels completely like the place to be? That is truly powerful. So the answer should be not less music. The answer should be better clarity, better planning, better systems, and honestly, more intentional local music choice. If a brewery is going to spend money on the music, make it count. Book the local artist, promote them properly, pay them fairly, give them a a tip jar or a QR code, let them sell their own merch, post clips of the night, make the artist a part of that brewery story. I've seen where I mean that's an easy collab opportunity. Let's say a brewery's already brewing a beer and they're going to work on a deal right now with like a pretty good artist in town where if they're working with like a nonprofit or something, there's a way to make that work where you can kind of do like a can art collab or something, but make that artist a part of that story. That's what I think it would work as well. Basically turn the event into something that the community is dying to support, because local doesn't automatically mean license free. If the artist plays covers, now that matters. But if their originals are registered through a pro or not, that can matter too. But local music can still be a huge part of the solution because it connects directly to the community that we're all in and you're serving. So people are not just hearing a playlist in the end, they're watching someone from their area build something. That's completely different kind of energy. That's the kind that's the part where breweries should lean into. That's the kind of energy that everyone flocks to. Because if craft beer is struggling, if breweries are trying to find a way to become those third places that I talked about in that last video, if you watched it, if tap rooms, need to give people a reason to leave the house, then music is not just background music anymore. It's not that background noise, my bad. Music is hospitality, music is marketing, music is like community building. It's that emotional seasoning in the whole tap room. And but this is where like I think customers need to understand the other side as well. So if you're a customer, please understand this part. If your local brewery starts charging a small cover for large music, or asks people to tip the musician, or promotes a music night pretty hard, there may be more behind that than just trying to squeeze another dollar out of you, to be dead honest. Through my all the research I've spent doing over the last couple weeks on this topic and to make this video for y'all, like they're trying to make the whole thing sustainable because the band costs money, the staff costs money to keep everyone working, the licensing, as I just covered, costs money. The room itself costs money, like where they pay the rent for because not many breweries own the spot they're at. The vibe itself truly has a price tag. And if you want local spaces to feel alive, we need to understand what goes into making them feel alive. That does not mean customers should be punished for it. It just means the value needs to be clear. Basically, tell people, hey guys, this cover supports the artist. This is the musician's QR code on the story, the Instagram story. Here's where we host live music. Here's where the night means. Here's what this night for us means for the brewery and the community, right? Making it like an event. And so people support things that they have better understanding when they're supporting it. If you just say, hey guys, this is it, support us, it doesn't really hit the same. We all know that. And it might feel like the biggest lesson here today. This topic is not just legal, it's storytelling. Because if breweries treat music as a random expense, it kind of feels like a burden. But if breweries treat music as part of their identity and like form it into that like philosophy, their business philosophy or their brand itself, it can become that brand. And a reggae night, a local acoustic series, a vinyl night, a songwriter showcase, um, a run club after party with local artists. That's a good idea. A mug club concert, just a community open mic. I don't know. But this is where things get exciting, because the future is not breweries going quiet. The future should be breweries getting smarter about how they keep music going, right? Pay the creators, pay the protect the business, build the room, support local artists, give customers a reason to care. This is the BrewBodz take for today. Okay, musicians deserve to get paid. Yes, breweries deserve the clarity. Customers deserve rooms that feel alive. The the brewery vibe has a price tag. The question is whether the system helps breweries keep the music playing or it makes the room go quiet, which we're all trying to avoid. So I want to hear from you personally. Did you know breweries need licenses just to play music customers can hear? Would a brewery feel the same without music to you? Would you pay a small cover if it helped breweries book more local musicians? And if you work at a brewery, own one, or play music in tap rooms, I really would like to hear your take. Do you see live music as entertainment, marketing, or community building? Drop in the comments. I truly appreciate it. And if this episode made you think like it did for me, I'm a little late on this, guys. I normally I've been posting about once a week, but this one it took me some time to really kind of get familiar with the pros. I was trying to figure out how this business works. And I want to make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow along over my Instagram. I'm doing a lot of things over there, helping build storytelling for the breweries and keep us all going forward. I'm going to keep bringing craft beer stories, industry breakdowns, brewery spotlights, as you've seen, and deeper conversations about what's happening behind that pint. Because, like I've always said, there's more going on behind the pint than people realize. So, guys, I'm Bennett with BrewBodz and Barbells. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.